Right, I've got the engine sections in. This, again, they didn't fit perfectly like you would expect with Tamiya. I did thin away that section there. Maybe I should have done it a little bit more, but anyway, they're in. Just a couple of spots are going to need real tiny touch of putty. Just odd. Everything else so far as you would expect with Tamiya, it went together well, but I had trouble there. Anyway, I've also put this bit on, so hang on, let me go back. So that bit on the tail, it's two parts sandwiched together. I'm not sure what its purpose is. I don't know if that's a dump and burn type thing or sensor or what, but anyway, it's two parts, so I need to clean up the seam join there. I don't think there should be a panel on there. And that, I think I mentioned previously, that will need to go. That is not a natural panel line, and obviously that one is not either. Alright, I've put I put the wings, glued them together, the two halves, so you will have a seam join all the way along and around there to clean up, but the rear part is, so the bottom part of the wing just comes to there, so it's a natural panel line, which is good, so it's a bit less you have to clean up. So obviously they just plug in or push in, so this makes painting just so much easier. You can paint them and put them in later. So that's a good idea. Alright, so you can see here I've put in the gear doors, glued them shut. It was a lot better than I was expecting, so what I've done is shown you coloured in what will need to be removed. So this is the rear part of the door, so all you need to take off here is the two little actuators that would be for the that would plug in there like that, and it fits good, but there is little, you know, if it shows a few little holes there, I'll just put some putty in there and clean that up. But the actual door fit perfect, which I was expecting it not to, because it's designed to be open. So there's this big door. All you need to do is thin the where I've coloured that in red, thin that down, because you need a lip. You can see there's a lip. You need a lip on that side as well to sit into the recess there. The only one that wasn't great fitting is the top inner one, or the inner side door, and it's because it's designed to be open, so you can see you need to take the actuator off, and that whole piece there needs to go. It needs to be flush to there, so there's quite a bit needs to be removed. The only thing is, because it's designed to be open, they've put the ejection pin marks on the side that you wouldn't see. So there's two ejection pin marks. You wouldn't see it normally, but because it's shut, you can see them. I'm not going to worry about them. Probably they're pretty very shallow. By the time I put the pylon on there with the air-to-air missiles, you probably won't be able to see that. And that was, so I put the big door on first, then the rear, and that small one I put in last. Now, once you sand that down to help yourself out there, what I did was just grab some white tack, blob, and basically just kept it up, that when I pushed that, that way. When I push the door down, that holds it in position. Otherwise you'll be constantly dropping it inside, so that just holds it there. That just stays inside the model, it won't hurt it. And just glue it up. You can see I need a touch of putty along there. I sanded a bit too much off. Again, you probably won't see it anyway, so they went a lot better than what I was expecting. I haven't done the nose yet, obviously, but that'll, I don't know, there's 4 doors going on in the nose section, so I don't know yet. We'll see what eventuates, how that works. But otherwise, yeah, it's working okay. Right, I've cleaned up the seam join on one side by doing one side at a time. When you sand away details, I can go back and say, okay, make sure I'm putting back in what I've sanded away where required. There is part of a panel line along here, so this panel on top runs along there, so I've re-scribed that bit in. I've used a needle in the pin vise to put the rivets back in because they're rather gapped. None of my rivet wheels are that wide, it's over 1 millimeter, so I'm just using freehand and just UMM scriber to go around the curve sections on the leading edge there and over the fuselage. So I've done that side. Now I'll come back, do this side. For any filling, I'll just use this old bottle cap with a bit of CA glue. I used to use putties and that. CA glue, you can't beat it because it dries within a couple of minutes and it's hard and it isn't going to shrink back like putties or that the old sprue goo people rave on about. I'm afraid that shrinks back and there's too many variables because it's depends on what sprue you're putting in the glue. You're going to use Airfix sprue, which is soft. You're going to use Hasegawa sprue, which is hard. It's all that becomes a variable, and you got to wait 24 hours more for it to dry. I don't. Anyway, each to their own. Super glue straight away. You just need to be careful sanding the back because it's harder than your plastic, but that's not a problem. Anyway, I'll do this side. I'm going to do the nose separate. Fix any gaps and then I'll glue it on. Be easier than trying to handle it in one long piece. And I'm trying this new stuff. It's scribing tape. It's pretty thin, but it's clear, so you can run it along. You can see what's underneath. Sometimes it may be of advantage, sometimes not, I guess, but I did it on there and it worked alright. Alright, I'll do this side. Alright, that's all cleaned up. The nose is glued on. So I think I mentioned earlier, it's a really nice flush fit up there. This plate in behind though is not. What I've opted to do is when you sit it in there, you can slide it backwards and forwards. So I've slid it forward so it's contact with the nose section. No gap, and you can see I've got a gap back here. I'll putty that, and this is an area where there's weapons, so it'll sort of be obscured. Maybe it's something I did, I don't know, I don't think so. I mean, top's fine, so it's not major, but I don't know, you just expect Tamiya is always going to be spot on. Alright, the nose gear is going to be a bit complicated. So the doors, I mean, not the gear. You can see I've stuck some of the white tack in there, some of the older stuff to hold the doors up. As I mentioned, there's 2 little ones that are at the rear. I'm also going to have to cut the where's that one? Is that on here? Oh no, it's separate, is it? Oh yeah, it's separate, sorry. Because I'm not doing the gear, I haven't really been reading what's going on with it. There's that panel I'm going to have to glue in there. I'm not sure how good that's going to cover, but I'll see soon enough. So the 4 doors, the 2 little ones at the rear and your 2 longer ones at the front. Now, what I'm going to do, or I've started to do, is I glue the little one to the big one. You can see I've put plastic card here. So the thickness of the doors, so the longer door you glue a part to it, you can see here. So that makes it thicker than that smaller door at the back. So what I've done is I've used 0.1 plastic card. Where is that? So it's 0.25 of a mil thick. So I've used that to get the thickness up to the rear or the front door. That's glued on there, and I've glued, that's just 0.2 mil, but whatever works for you. And I just feel it's going to be easier trying to put 2 doors in instead of dicking around trying to get 4 lined up. So I've just glued that, so I can't go forcing that, it'll break off. So I'll do the same the other side. Obviously it's the same deal, you have to cut off all your actuators, otherwise they'll get in the way. I'm going to do the 2 like the other side like that, and I'll try a dry fit, see how it looks. I may end up gluing the 4 of them together and just push it in. We'll see how it lines up and everything. I don't want to rush it and get it wrong and make a mess, so I'm figuring that some areas here will probably need a little bit of putty, because you got so many doors going on there. I can't see it being perfect because it's not meant to be glued shut. Yeah, I've done the putty where I needed to on there. Yeah, so I'll do the other side and then I'll see what happens. Alright, this is just a loose fit, so I've got the rear part in. That's pretty good fit, just that the leading edge of it isn't squared, it's sort of rounded. And these at the front, the doors are angled, so they come in like that. So I'm going to have to sand away a bit of the end there to get it to push in. So it's a bit odd, but anyway, it's at this stage I've still got 2 whole pieces there glued together. I didn't glue the 4 together, but I think it won't be too bad. It's pretty, there's not a huge gaps or anything, and you should see panel lines because it's a moving part, so I'll just need to clean them up a bit. But I will need, because I'm sanding, you can see they're too long in the middle there, but on the side is a touch short, so I'll need a bit of putty in there. That's best I can do with it, unless you want to start making your own doors, which I do not. Yeah, so it's not, again, better than what I was expecting, because usually when kits are engineered to be doors open, they can be difficult. Like the from memory, the last one I did was the Mang Super Hornet, that I had to modify the doors to fit, like add plastic card to them and that, so this one's a lot better than that. Alright, I'm just dry fitting components here to see how it all fits and what I can do. Basically, I want to paint the wing separate, put it on later. So you got the airbag. You've got 2 choices for airbags because of wing swept forward, wing swept back will change how the airbag looks. So these ones will be for swept forward, and the thinner one, because it's swept back, the air's deflated a bit, is that one there. You got these little fairings that go cover the wing. So like I said, that's, I haven't glued them, I'm just checking out. So you can put the wing on still and it'll be right. So if you did want to put it in your display cabinet, and 1 month you've got a wings back, next month you want it the wings forward, you probably, well not probably, you wouldn't glue the airbag in, you'd probably just swap them out. They're pretty good fit, so you could probably do that, just swap it out. But for me, like I said, it's going to be mounted on timber base in flight, so I'll be just gluing them in. So that's all good. There's 4 different ones of these as well, so that's the other thing you might have to, if you're swapping it around, you, again, it's a good fit, so you could probably swap them out if you wanted to do that. Alright, so I can glue that in. The wing away. Alright, I've made up the stabilizers, so the horizontals are same part numbers, so it doesn't matter which side's which. So I'll push in there because you got that poly cap in there. Again, if you got it in your display cabinet and you're changing the look of it, you can move it. Just be careful of that. So, and the good thing is, it's, you can see with the glue mark, it's an insert, so there's no seam joints to sand and clean up. The verticals are handed, so there will be left and right. Again, I'm probably going to paint this off just for ease, and it looks like it should just fit on top nicely. It doesn't sit there though, so, but it should work out okay. Again, it was insert, but there is the seam joint there to clean up, but everywhere else you don't need to worry about cleaning up a seam join. Hip hip hooray. So I've put on my little sensor, that's what it is, on the nose. That's 2 halves, so I've glued it together, glued it on. I need to clean up that seam join. You can see where I've got putty and I've got the nose gear doors glued in. They were more difficult than the rear, but it worked. I didn't have to add plastic card strips or anything to fill out the width or anything, so it worked out pretty well. Oh yeah, I was going to start cutting the pallets off the sprues for the Phoenix missiles, so this is the layout I'm having. So 4 Phoenix wing pylons with the other air-to-air missiles, the Sparrow and the Sidewinder. Unfortunately, they're all multi-parts, halves and whatnot, so be a lot of cleanup involved with them. I really wish maybe it's lazy, but I just prefer manufacturer just molded weapons as one piece. So, but it'll cost more because it's slide molding technology. So I'll cut them off again. I'm not sure yet. Probably might be better to paint them off. Just adding all these lumps and bumps just creates more angles and areas for when you're airbrushing. The wing pylons are 2 halves as well, so they'll require clean up on the seam joins. They'll do the combing for the instrument panels and glue the pilots together, but that can be at the end. And I'll do a dry fit of the canopies. It should fit. I can't see why there'd be a problem, but again, I want to paint it with them off. I don't really want to glue them on all situ and paint it, because usually I find a way that I get some sort of dust fogging or something inside clear parts, so I'd prefer to do it off to be safe, because it's a big canopy. So mainly the construction of the larger parts are done, and all towards the end we got all the pitos and sensors. They'll be painted and put on at the end, because especially the nose one, because I can guarantee I'll bump that when I'm painting it and break it. The boarding ladders and the step, I'll have to, you got the option that there isn't actually an option here to have them shut. You just need to cut tabs off for when they're open, so it's the same part, you're just removing a tab to put on, so I can put them on that side. So there's 3 going in there. But first of all, I'll do this on both wings, and then I'll look at where I'm at then. I just did a dry fit of the clear parts, so the windscreen and the canopy. Unfortunately, when the canopy sits in position and the windscreen sits in position, there is a gap, which is disappointing. So I'll probably be more inclined to do mine, slide it forward, maybe, that they fit together, and fill the back. That's just a bit of tape to hold the interior part of the deck. Just seeing how it's supposed to fit. Also, alright, the Tomcat has, I'm pretty sure it's like an antenna that runs inside the actual canopy. There's one at the rear, one at the front there, but so they should be there, but in front of that there is still a seam join. It's very faint, but it's there, so I'm gonna have to sand that out and polish it up again and dip it. So even though part of it's meant to be there, there's still a little bit that isn't meant to be there, which is unfortunate. Again, they can manage, not just Tamiya but everyone, they can do the windscreens with no center seam, but they seem to can't do the main canopy. Anyway, the windscreen looks a good fit, flush around where it's meeting the fuselage, so that's alright, but that's a bit disappointing, the gap. It's probably not, maybe I might be able to, ooh. Oh yeah, I might be able to put a bit of, that'll be the 0.1 plastic card, but it's still got to work around with this part. Which way? That way. It'll work something out anyway. I was just expecting it to be flush properly, but anyway. So I have to clean that up. I've made up the pallets for the Phoenix missiles. So don't do what I did. I'm supposed to drill holes out. Well, actually, it didn't align with what they said here. Where are we? So it's that panel that sits in there, you drill the holes out for the whichever layout you're doing with the weapons. So the two up the front should have been for what I'm doing. But the rear, where's that? Oh yeah, I missed them. I missed them as well. There's those two I should have drilled out as well before I put it together. Don't worry, it's not the first time I have done this. The way around it is it's all glued up. What do? Go take your model. I use my I got a walk-in wardrobe in my bedroom, so I walk in there, shut the door, it's pitch black. Get a bright torch, shine through underside. It's a bit harder because it's a full fuselage, it's easier on wings, but it did work. I just moved the torch around till the light, you'll see there'll be light spots where the plastic's thinner, and I could identify that they were perfect circles, so that I knew that's where the hole should be. And I just pretty much, I was holding the torch in one hand underneath, and I just marked with pencil where I needed to drill. So that's your way around that problem if you ever do it, which I seem to do frequently. Anyway, so the front pallet store is handed, so this is the left side, and I don't know why, but the holes are different for them as well. That one I was a bit off kilter, so I drilled it out more. That's why it's so large, but you won't see it. And the rear ones, doesn't matter, they're both the same, but I'll paint them off, because otherwise you got all these little tiny areas trying to get in. You're going to get airbrushing, you get a vortex and rough texture on the paint. So that's that. I've done the glued the pylon halves together. I haven't cleaned them up yet. This was the left one, I think. Yeah. And it's got the where was that at? I got to put the rail for the sidewinder on it yet. I'll clean up the seam joint first. Alright, so I need to mask off here. I'll have a look at my call out for the aftermarket decals, how much, if that, where I have painted white, if that is correct for that scheme. Mask that off and mask the cockpit area off, and I can start priming that. I think I'd put them in as well, like the air vents or whatever they are on the back. I think most of it now is just all the little parts that I can put on later. Oh, I'm going to put those doors in. Yeah. And also got my, grab it out the box. Ooh. So I had to buy two lengths, I couldn't buy one. So you can see it's 20mm acrylic rod, so it's bloody chunky, and it won't go in there because that's 19mm, that's 20, so I'll have to sand the end off. and I'm pretty sure as you head further into the engine it sort of tapers, so I might have to sand a bit more than I thought. But I'll do that. I'll probably just end up, I'm not sure yet how long I want the acrylic rod. That's 50 centimeters, 500 mil. I might just cut it in half, and that way it keeps, it's a pretty long aircraft, and with the timber base I don't want it standing a metre in the air, so for display purposes so I might just use one piece. The last couple I did them straight vertical. This one I'm going to do a bit of some sort of angle, just to be different to what I've done previously. If you haven't ever watched any of my builds in this first one, if I do them in flight with jets, I will, well, so far I've always done acrylic rod out of the engine, because to me that's a natural look. I know a lot of people don't think model aircraft in flight looks right, but I'd prefer that than sticking it in the belly, even though that would suit better for different poses, like banking at a more horizontal angle. But I prefer the that way I can put in the heat plume, the heat effect of the yellow banding, and like the engine afterburner and whatnot. Yeah, so I'm gonna start looking at my scheme, that where I need to mask. I'm gonna have to unfortunately sand the front of that, polish it. I didn't want to because it's nice and clear, but anyway, it is what it is.